Dumelang, how's it in the name of Jesus? It's Cran K. I hope you're peachy and in a little bit of a bunch. I just want to talk about China, alright? Just gonna put that out there. I spoke about Tamagotchi. I also spoke about Pokemon. And I also spoke about the fact that poor people burp all the time, so leave me alone because I'm poor. Yeah. And I was speaking about how China is this atheistic, communistic land. Let's hide the knee. Atheistic, communistic land that wants everybody to be without religion. However, China is not entirely religionless. It is pagan. It's witchy. It's very witchy. It's exceptionally witchy. That whole dragon ritual thing they do, it's witchy. It's witchy. So their religion, essentially, if at all anybody partakes in it that will not get persecuted, is witchcraft. And it's happening at very high levels. And their witchcraft is so intense and so excruciating that it literally goes all the way out of its way to rear its ugly head and have fangs to influence and afflict, hypnotically so, an entire global citizenship wherein any of their products are exported. So television shows that come from China, cartoons, they are strangely addictive despite not being the best quality. Like anime and all that jazz. Anything that just comes from that space, alright, is strangely hypnotizing. It's like there's an amulet just, dangling in front of people's eyes of the global population. Strangely hypnotizing. There is something satanic, sort of kind of oozing like a green gas that smells off anything that comes from China when it lands in other nations, especially if it is in the form of entertainment. Only look, guys, at how trance-like you become. Back in the day, my grandmother used to watch these shows, these kung fu shows, these martial arts shows. She used to like watching them, a whole bunch, etc. Right? And we would just sit there and eventually end up like stuck to the TV screens, just frozen in place, just like my grandmother, for 2-3 hours while this show happens, not even taking a bathroom break. There is something, albeit the entertainment value or the acting talent not being that stellar, but there is something grabbing, catchy, and you stick around by it. Or something Danish about Chinese entertainment. Even when it is not as entertaining as some action movie from Hollywood with a whole bunch of activity, you will literally stick around and just keep watching all the way to the end and not even understand what in the world did I just do there. Hugely influential, hugely sticky, drawing into the television until you can no longer recognize your face in the mirror. Okay? That is what it is that Chinese movie is like. You know that song? Yeah, TLC. Don't go chasing waterfalls. There is this one portion of the lyrics that says, she gives him loving that his body can't handle, and all he can say is, baby, he'll get some man. Hey. One day he goes and takes a glimpse in the mirror, and he doesn't recognize his own face. Yeah, Chinese entertainment is like that sexual overdrive in that song, in the sense that it'll give you loving that you can't handle, and all you can say is, I love it, I love it, I love it, you're good to me. And then one day you go and take a glimpse in the mirror and you don't recognize your own face. What are they doing exactly in causing you to chase those waterfalls, eh? They're on a mission to try and take over the world. Like Pinky on the Brain, except they're gonna somewhat succeed, and I'll tell you why in a minute. It's a minute that's progressed, so let's tell you. The way the world is going to be so incredibly weakened by the very end of it, by the very end of the world, the way that the world is going to be so incredibly weakened by the end of the world, there will barely be enough armies across the world, still the Pilemata strong, bashing their chest on a mountaintop like King Kong, that there will not be enough people to go around to essentially fight the Lord of Hosts when he rocks up on that white horse with all of his hordes of saints at the second coming. So, who in the world is going to be fighting the Battle of Armageddon? It is believed by many Bible scholars that that military largely belongs to China, the kings of the East. are going to gather there at the Megiddo, where the Euphrates River has dried up, and they're going to be like, we're going to fight you, punch you. The one nation in the world that is fighting for dominance, that's what's good. At that stage, Vladimir Putin and all of his troops will have been decimated at Gog and Magog, the battle. There will be no more. They will have died on the mountains of Israel. So we know that Russia is not involved in the but the Armageddonic war. However, China, who is incredibly atheistic like no man's business, they hate God. Okay, let me not say all of them. Of course, you do find the Chinese, odd one here and there, that are godly, that love Christ. There's a great thriving underground church over there. Nonetheless, the nation is extremely anti-God at all. Whatever religion, they feel intimidated by it. So how much more should the one nation that persecutes all religions indiscriminately be the one to come against the ruler on the white horse who is rocking enough to reign 1,000 years? They feel threatened by religion because it can indeed transform structures and give people liberty, freedom, rights, apart from human beings who are megalomaniacal, saying, I don't want you to live like this, I want you to live like that. China, being as atheistic as it is, that had to happen. Being as atheistic as China is, it is going to be with grand bravado, for they will have garnered for themselves a great amount of strength in the tribulation, appearing to be unfettered by all the disasters falling all over the show. Their military is going to be a strong might, and they will, just as they've been succeeding. God has let them get away with murder for those reasons. It's the reason why he's even allowed them to become a superpower, even though it's not the superpower. He has allowed them to take over the minds of the whole planet precisely for such a time as that. China is similar to, how can I say it, Judas. It is written about Judas in the scriptures that his condemnation was basically guaranteed from long ago. He has given his life over to Satan. He will spend forever in outer darkness, and he was set apart for the very purpose, indeed, of betraying the Son of Man. So you ask yourself, why is this dude hanging around Christ? We all know what he's going to do. Like, why in the world did he even get called as a disciple in the first place? That's just the thing. He had to betray the Son of Man. It was for the ultimate purpose of Christ to fulfill what he was here on the earth to achieve. And so therefore, Judas was a total had to happen, even though don't nobody really like what he did. You would imagine it would be better for Judas to never having been born. Indeed, as it is written in God's word, it'll be better for him if he was never born at all. You would imagine it would be better if Judas was never met, if at all he was never in that environment where Christ was calling the disciples, because then nobody had to go and betray the Son of Man. But if the Son of Man was not betrayed, where would you be right now? Hellbound with no avenue of escape. Look at you go, Shem, Achashem. But now you got Christ, you got the blood, you got propitiation, you have been accounted for in the Lamb's Book of Life, because Judas did what Judas was supposed to do. China is like Judas. China is supposed to dumb the whole world down into some kind of a nefarious trance, following which they will literally just give their power over until at the end of the tribulation they are the only nation with a strong army that is still standing, and they will then dare, because all along they've gotten away with all of this murder. They have prospered to smother nations under their thumb. They have prospered to wrinkle everybody's face that was only a teenager, and in so doing they will have sufficient arrogance to anticipate that a being from the sky, for crying out loud, can be cooed by them, because they've been cooing successfully the nations of the earth from as far back as they can remember. They prospered to make mindless drones out of their own country, and then went on right ahead to export this rubbish everywhere else. They will be so arrogant and so beefed up with their track record of excellence in taking things over that they will thoroughly think it's feasible for them to actually destroy the King of the universe coming on a horse with a whole bunch of saints from some other dimension. Next part.